Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and it's time to talk about the schedule. The official Washington Commanders 2022 NFL regular season schedule has been released. Of course, we don't have the exact preseason schedule. We know we play, we just don't know when we play them. We play week 1 versus the Carolina Panthers, week 2 at Kansas City Chiefs, week 3 at the Baltimore Ravens, but we don't know exact dates and times yet. But we got to talk about this regular season, man, and I'm really excited. I'm definitely going to give a score. I'm definitely going to give a record prediction at the end, so definitely stay tuned for that. But we got to go game by game, and we got to take a look at a lot of the really interesting parts about this schedule that maybe a lot of people don't notice, haven't thought of. I'm going to break down all of the crazy and even some of it funny details about this schedule. Also, the bye week is awful. Week 14 bye week, literally setting us up for failure, but we're going to talk about all of that, man. I'm so excited because we got to dive into matchups. We got to talk about revenge tours, and not just Carson Wentz, but other players that are going to play former teams. And also the same way, we're going to end up playing against former Washington Commander players. So this is going to be really fun. And then for me, the in-depth, just overall, we got to go against so many Georgia Bulldogs this season off the rip, which kind of hurts my heart. Malik Willis, if he plays, even though I doubt it. So this is going to be a really fun season for me on so many levels, even just beyond the Washington Commanders, because I'm going to get a chance to see so many of my Bulldogs live in action just from this draft alone. So I'm really excited, man. But yeah, man, before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Also be on the lookout for my draft review and breakdown and grades and all of that type of stuff. I will be coming with that fairly soon. I'm also working on film sessions for all of the players we drafted and even some of the undrafted free agents. Again, if you're a channel member, you're going to get all of them. If you're not a channel member, go become one, because everybody else will only get a couple, maybe a few. We'll see. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and get to this schedule. It's a lot to talk about. I'm excited, as you can hear it in my voice. Let's get it. All right, so first of all, we got to start off with the worst news, and that's definitely the week 14 bye week. That's the worst part of this entire schedule by far. Everything else smooth, you know, good parts, bad parts, but easily the worst part is this week 14 bye week. And at this point, I'm just assuming that's just revenge for what Dan Snyder has been doing to the owners. This is Roger Goodell and whoever's part of the schedule making committee's tactic in trying to get revenge and make Daniel Snyder pay. And I'm not gonna lie, week 14 bye week sucks, but I'm really hoping we don't get draft picks taken or anything like that. I'll take the week 14 bye week over losing a first round pick any day. But again, it really sucks. A week 14 bye week is awful, man. I am scared because that's just so much time until we get a break. And I mean, this is going to be a really rough schedule. And I know when that week 14 bye week comes, we're going to be like, thank goodness. I prefer it in the middle, like somewhere between weeks 8 through 10. So they definitely hated on this, but it's whatever. We're just gonna have to work through it. Again, I feel like, and we're gonna talk about this in the record prediction part, but like I keep saying in several videos and live streams, we won 7 games last year with Taylor Heinicke at quarterback, and I feel like Carson Wentz is an easy upgrade, obviously, at the very least talent wise, and at the very worst case scenario, you go back to Taylor Heinicke. So that's at the very least neutral. And then also, I just refuse to believe we're going to be as injured and COVID-19 ridden as we were last year, with us having to go out there with 5th string centers, 3rd string guards, backup tackles, backup defensive linemen all over the place, secondary, I mean literally everywhere. Linebacker group was probably as worst it's gonna ever be, with John Bostic starting for the first few weeks. Jamin Davis can't go anywhere but up. He just can't be worse than what he was last year. And I mean, the secondary improvements, the receiving core improvements. So just at the very least because of that, and then on top of that, but speaking of the schedule, we're going from the league's toughest schedule according to win percentage to tied for the easiest schedule according to win percentage this season. Us and the Cowboys are tied for the easiest schedules in the entire NFL. Last year, the 2021 season, when we finished the season, we ended up having the toughest schedule by win percentage in the NFL. And going into the season is kind of interesting because it wasn't the toughest going into the season. So we'll see what happens by the end of it. And, you know, hopefully we can curb the value a little bit by making it a little bit easier by getting a lot of wins. I mean, the more you lose, the tougher your schedule looks because the guys you go against are adding a win in their win percentage column. So there's a lot of finer details when it comes to that, but we still won 7 games. It's not like we went 0-17 and really skewed the data. It was legitimately the hardest schedule in the NFL, especially when you look at quarterbacks. And that's another thing. Not only are we just having an easier schedule win percentage wise, but we're going against way less difficult quarterbacks for sure. It's not the same thing as the 2020 season where our defense put up elite top 3 numbers in a lot of different categories, advanced statistics and all of that, but it is way easier than what we had to deal with this past season as far as quarterbacks go, and again, just overall teams win percentage wise, all of that. So man, but that bye week really hurts because, I mean, shouts out to Chris Russell. He brought up a good point. NFL teams are together for about 6 weeks before they play 1 regular season games. So that means with us having a week 14 bye week, that the Commanders will go approximately 19 to 20 weeks in a row without a break at all, including at least 2 short weeks with us having Monday night and Thursday night games on the schedule. So that's going to be really tough. But that week 14 bye week, when we get there, we're going to be so relieved because we're really going to need that. But before we dive into like individual games and stuff and analysis, I think it's really interesting, first of all, that we do have 2 primetime games. That's really interesting. We start with the Jaguars, end with the Cowboys, and it's basically booking home games. We play the Jaguars at Fedex Field, we play the Cowboys at Fedex Field to start and end the season, which is really interesting. It's also really interesting that Carson Wentz goes against the Colts and the Eagles on Monday Night Football in a 15-day span. I mean, straight revenge tour type of stuff. Go against one former team, and then the very next week, and then within 15 days, go against another former team. I think that's really interesting. It'd be different if it were Ryan Fitzpatrick and he played for half the league. Then it's like, oh yeah, of course he's gonna go against former teams often. But the fact that they put 2 out of, I mean, technically 3 games with the Eagles, and between 2 Eagles games and 1 Colts game, that close out of an 18-week schedule, that's really interesting. And then speaking of primetime games, again, we have 2. There's a bunch of teams that have 5. There's 4 teams that have 4. There's 3 teams that have 3. There's 2, and then there's us. We're one of 5 teams that have 2. And then you also have 6 teams that have 1. And then the only team with 0 are the Detroit Lions. And I know my boy Jameson Williams, he's about to make it, so they definitely get something the next year. Also, I think it's really interesting, if you look at it, all of our home games at FedEx Field are at 1 p.m. So every time we play in Maryland, in Landover, it's at 1 p.m. every single time. I think that's really interesting. That's pretty cool. You know me, as a streamer, I prefer as many 1 p.m. games as possible, but as a fan, of course, I do want to see more primetime games so we can go out there and show everybody what we've been doing to people. I mean, if we're going out there and balling out and winning games, playing a primetime game, everybody will see how good Carson Wentz is again. Everybody will finally give Terry McLaurin the credit he deserves, hopefully Antonio Gibson, a lot of our players. I think a lot of the reason that we don't get as much media attention as we should, even though we are better than teams that do get more media attention than us, is because we just don't play a lot of primetime games. I think playing more primetime games is definitely going to put us more in the spotlight, and then that will probably equal more Pro Bowl votes. That will make it easier for guys to get voted into the Hall of Fame. Because if London Fletcher had the exact same career he had for us, but on a better team, and at least got 1 Super Bowl ring, he would for sure be in the Hall of Fame right now. He has all of the stats to be in there. But, you know, it's just we haven't been able to get a lot of exposure. We were really bad during the London Fletcher years, and we're definitely not that bad now, but we still need to go out there and make the most of our primetime games. So again, as a fan, I prefer as many as possible, but as a streamer, man, all of them 1 p.m. games, I love it, man. And then for it all to be home games, so that's just one thing as a fan. When you're planning on going to a home game, you already know. You don't even have to question it. There's no second thoughts. We're playing at 1 p.m. Simple. But again, as a streamer, to have a consistent stream, we know we're starting to stream at 12:30. We're going to about 4, and then having the post-game live stream where I break down everything and I open the phone lines for y'all to call in and analyze everything. I mean, to have that on a perfect schedule at like 6 p.m. ending around 8 or 9, I love that consistency. But again, as a fan, like I've already stated, I would love as many games on the prime time at 8 p.m. as possible. I want us to be the only team playing on TV as much as possible. But But again, we're gonna have to go out there and prove ourselves this year and win the NFC East, or even if we don't make the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game, and then we'll get more primetime games next year, especially if Carson Wentz looks like something. Because I think quarterbacks dominate primetime games. Good teams do as well, but first of all, I mean, that's kind of goes hand to hand. You have a great quarterback, you're normally a great team. But also, it's just the star power. If you have a really good quarterback, not even just good, exciting, you're going to get a lot of primetime games. Because again, the teams with the most primetime games, with 5 of them, Cincinnati with Joe Burrow, Chargers with Justin Herbert, Rams with Matthew Stafford, Buffalo with Josh Allen, Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts, who's easily, in my opinion, I wouldn't say the worst quarterback out of this list, but definitely one of the least good, but he's really exciting. He runs the ball really well. He's a dual threat guy. Again, not necessarily the best, but very exciting. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, Dallas with Dak Prescott, and I mean, it's Dallas. I mean, it doesn't matter who's at quarterback. Could have been Blaine Gabbert. It was still going to be at minimum 3 primetime games because it's Dallas. San Francisco, they have a situation going on, but at the end of the day, San Francisco, another team just like Dallas that has fans everywhere. No matter what, as many primetime games as you play with those teams, it's gonna be huge ratings because their fan base is so deep. New England, not a great quarterback situation, fan base. Pittsburgh, not a great quarterback situation, fan base. Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson, Kansas City Chiefs, Pat Mahomes. So it's really quarterbacks and fan bases that run primetime games. But being a great team helps as well. Being a team that just made the playoffs and maybe won a playoff game or 2 helps as well. But Denver's literally 5 primetime games because of Russell Wilson. And then now moving on, let's talk about this week 1 matchup, the Jaguars. And the Jaguars already talking trash, man. I need the Washington Commanders social media team to get on that and talk back, because they literally replied off of our tweet, did a retweet reply to the Washington Commanders official account. They said, week 1 FedEx Field, see you all there with flames. We're just, hyping up our team. We're not talking any trash. Here come the official Jaguars account saying, tell Carson Wentz we say hi, with a little smile emoji right there with the colon parentheses. So yeah, I see what they trying to do here. We'll see, man. They talking all that trash. I mean, the same team that just went 13-14. They just went 3-14 last year. But we'll see, man. I like the trash talk, though. It makes the build-up even more fun. And I am really afraid of this game. Granted, the Jaguars and the Lions as our first 2 games were literally the 2 worst teams from last year. That's the reason they got Travon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson in the draft back-to-back. Number 1 overall, number 2 overall. They were the worst teams last year. We'll see how bad they are this upcoming year. And then, of course, the Lions have Jamison Williams, who's about to be on a revenge tour for how late he was drafted and the receivers he was drafted afterwards, all of that type of stuff. He was angry, and deservingly so, because I feel like Jamison Williams was easily the best receiver in this class. I don't even think it was necessarily close when healthy. But I'm really afraid of these games. You could definitely consider these trap games because Ron Rivera starts off slow, very slow in seasons. If there were ever a season where Ron Rivera can take a team and start 2-0, it is this season against the Jaguars week 1 and the Lions week 2. But you gotta win these games. You have to. Jaguars week 1, Lions week 2. You literally have to win those games. There's no excuse. You have to start 2-0 or Carson Wentz, first of all, fans are coming for his head, because we don't beat the Jaguars and the Lions. I'm just gonna assume it's because of Carson Wentz, because we're more talented than both of those teams top to bottom. If we lose to the Jaguars, it's because Trevor Lawrence just completely outballed Carson Wentz. And if we lose to the Lions, that's Jared Goff outballing Carson Wentz. So I don't know, man. Again, we're more talented than both of those teams top to bottom. And so I could definitely see fans coming for Carson Wentz's head. If we even lose one of those games, say we beat the Jaguars and then lose to the Lions, people are going to be on Carson Wentz's head. And I might be as well, because those are literally your 2 easiest games on the schedule. Again, they were literally the 2 worst teams in the NFL last year. I don't care how well they drafted. I do not care. Draft picks do matter, but this is still the team that was terrible last year, and it's not like either of them gained great quarterbacks that can do a complete 180 for their franchise. They got great players, but it's not like the Lions just went and got a great quarterback to start over Jared Goff, and he may be able to carry that bad roster, even though they do have Jamison Williams, which I think he's just going to be a perennial Pro Bowler, but we'll see, man. Also, what is really interesting is that This is going to be our 37th week 1 home game, and we're 18-18 in the previous 36. Are we going to tip into good favor or bad favor? That's definitely something to watch. Also, the Jaguars matchup that I think a lot of people are not talking about. I mean, of course, because Carson Wentz versus Doug Peterson, that's really interesting, but Brandon Scherff versus Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, okay? And then Andrew Norwell going against his former team. Of course, he's a former Panther, but most recently, he's a former Jaguar. And the reason the Jaguars didn't really care about signing him back was because they wanted Brandon Scherff. So is he going to go out there and ball out and show them, you should have kept me over Brandon Scherff? You know, there's a lot of very interesting matchups this time, man. I'm really excited. Even just the Jaguars team that, of course, we're not going to get a lot of ratings because, again, we're not one of those teams that a lot of people talk about national media wise, and the Jaguars were awful. I mean, honestly, with them having Trevor Lawrence, they may be a more exciting team to the national media to talk about and write about. Number 1 overall pick, Javon Walker, Georgia dog, and that starts it off too. Going against the Jaguars, we're going against a Georgia Bulldog immediately, so that's really interesting in itself. But I think this game does have a lot of interesting dynamics that's going to make it really fun for those of y'all who know. For the people that really know what's going on, again, Brandon Scherff versus Jonathan Allen Daron Payne, Andrew Norwell versus his former team, Carson Wentz versus Doug Peterson. I think that's going to be a very interesting situation. And now let's look at the rest of the schedule. So just to let you know, we play Sunday, September 11th versus the Jaguars at 1 p.m. on Fox. Week 2, like I already said, we play the Detroit Lions September 18th on Sunday, 1 p.m. on Fox as well. And again, I just feel like we're the better team. We should win that game. But week 3, the first revenge game for Carson Wentz against the Eagles, now sadly it's in Maryland, which is good for us, you know, potentially win-wise. But I would have preferred theatrics-wise and hype for the first time we play the Eagles to be in Philadelphia, so we can see how they react to Carson Wentz returning live and all of that as the first time that he plays them. Now with it being the second time, it's not going to be as exciting. It's still going to be fun, and I mean, depending on what happens in week 3, if we beat the Eagles or lose to the Eagles, that may make things more interesting when we play them again week 10 in Philadelphia. But I was just really hoping that the first time Carson Wentz goes against the Eagles again, it's in Philadelphia. But that's a winnable game. Won't be easy, but I don't think we're worse than the Eagles. I think we match up fairly well against them, but we'll see. Again, I'm going to give my record prediction at the end, but week 4, Sunday, October 2nd at Dallas Cowboys, 1 p.m. So we go against 2 division rivals within the first 4 weeks, literally week 3 and 4. So that means we don't have that crazy gauntlet of division rivals at the end of the season. Thank goodness it's spread throughout a little bit. So thank goodness for that. Again, that's on Fox as well. Week 5, Sunday, October 9th versus the Tennessee Titans at 1 p.m. on CBS, the first non-Fox game. So that's going to be a tough matchup, but it is in Maryland, so we'll see how that goes. Week 6, Thursday, October 13th at Chicago Bears, 8:20 p.m. Amazon Prime. And that's an ugly matchup. That's just not, as a person that wouldn't be a Washington Commander or Chicago Bears fan, that doesn't sound like the most attractive game. But I think Carson Wentz versus Justin Fields is going to be really fun. And granted, other teams are looking at us like that's our winnable game right there, but I definitely feel like the Chicago Bears is a very winnable game. You gotta win that game, especially with as abysmal the offense was last year. Granted, new head coach, but you know, we got to see. And it's going to be week 6. It's going to be early with them getting a new head coach. So we'll see how well they adapt. Week 7, Sunday, October 23rd versus the Green Bay Packers at 1 p.m. on Fox. We'll see. Without Devontae Adams, still going to be a very tough matchup going against an Aaron Rodgers. Last year, though, we played really well. We just couldn't score in the red zone. We moved the ball probably easier in that game than we did in any other game in the season. We just couldn't score in the red zone, and Logan Thomas was hurt, and that was one of the main reasons why we couldn't. But we were able to move the ball so easily against the Green Bay Packers, just couldn't score enough for it to matter. Then week 8, Sunday, October 30th at the Indianapolis Colts, 4:25 p.m. on Fox. Carson Wentz revenge game against his direct former team, the most recent former team, and the team that talked the most trash about him. The Eagles really didn't dog Carson Wentz like that. They were just ready to move on. They got a first-round pick for him. The Colts traded for him using that first-round pick and all kinds of other value. I believe a third-round pick as well, and then immediately got rid of him and blamed all of their last season problems basically on him. which was, I think, was a knee-jerk reaction. I definitely feel like they were wrong for doing that. I think they had more problems outside of Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was a problem, but he wasn't the problem. So I can't wait for him to go there and show them that in Indianapolis as well. Oh yeah, let's get it. The night before Halloween too. Week 9, Sunday, November 6th versus the Minnesota Vikings, 1 p.m. on Fox. It's always really interesting when we go against Kirk Cousins. Let's go and show them that our new quarterback is better than our old quarterback. So that should be fun in itself. But man, Justin Jefferson. Whoo-wee. Week 10, Monday, November 14th at Philadelphia Eagles, 8:15 p.m. ABC and ESPN primetime game. That's the game they want everybody to watch, because that is the game when Carson Wentz finally returns back to Philadelphia for the first time. That's going to be really interesting. That's why they're hyping that up. That's why it's at 8:15 p.m. on a Monday night, ABC and ESPN. That's the game that everybody's going to be watching at the same time. I can't wait. Week 11, Sunday, November 20th at Houston, Texans, 1 p.m. You got to win that game. I don't care who they drafted. I don't care who they brought in free agency. And granted, Davis Mills is definitely a better quarterback than I thought he was going to be. I definitely have to admit where I was wrong there. He's not a great quarterback, but he's definitely better than I thought he would be. But you still got to win that game. Speaking of, you got to win that game. The following week, week 12, Sunday, November 27th versus the Atlanta Falcons in Maryland instead of Atlanta this upcoming season. Last year it was in Atlanta. I went to the game. And like I said, man, if there's any team we got to beat in our schedule the most, for me personally, it's the Atlanta Falcons, even more than the Cowboys. So I really hope we win that game, because usually I get a 4-year period of talking trash after we beat the Falcons, or 4 years of sadness after we lose to them. But to play them back-to-back years, I'm gonna need that dub just in case we go another 4 years without playing them. And then week 13, Sunday, December 4th at New York Giants. Also one of those games you gotta win. I mean, if you really want to compete, you got to beat the Giants twice this season. We didn't make the playoffs last year beating the Giants twice. So if you want to make the playoffs this year, you got to beat the Giants twice at the very least. At the very, very least, at least once. But then that means you got to beat the Cowboys at least once and the Eagles at least once. So we'll see how that goes. And then also, after that, week 14 bye week. Man, long overdue, but it is what it is. I've already talked about that. Week 15, Saturday/Sunday, December 17th/December 18th versus the New York Giants. I think that's really interesting that we don't exactly know what day that will be yet. But again, another winnable game. You play the Giants, bye week, play the Giants again. But the second time it's in Maryland. I think those are both winnable games. Week 16, Saturday, December 24th at the San Francisco 49ers at 4:05 p.m. If it's Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, that's still a tough game because the team is so great around the quarterback. It's up to the quarterback to go out there and do what they got to do. But hey, I wouldn't consider that a winnable game, but it is a game. CBS, of course. Then week 17, Sunday, January 1st versus the Cleveland Browns at 1 p.m. That's our 17th game. You know how we went from 16 games a season on a 17-week schedule to 17 games a season on an 18-week schedule. That's the 17th game technically. Even though it's not the final game of the season, that's the extra one. And of course, all NFC teams play home when we do that. It's always NFC versus AFC. Last year was at AFC. This year is at NFC, and it's going to go vice versa flipping back and forth infinitely. And that's going to be a really tough game. I was hoping if we played the Cleveland Browns, maybe it'd be earlier in the season. Maybe Deshaun Watson is suspended. But hey, man, at the end of the day, my mentality is you got to play the best when they're at their best. I feel like if you got to hope for injuries or suspensions, you don't deserve to make the playoffs anyway. So let's get it. I mean, Deshaun Watson, hate playing against a guy, hate going against anybody from Atlanta or Atlanta metro area. But hey, man, we'll see. We got to go kill those Browns. Week 18, final game of the season, Saturday/Sunday, January 7th or 8th versus the Dallas Cowboys in Maryland. And you never know, man, the way this schedule shakes up, that may be a must win. Like, we win that game, you make it to the playoffs. It may even be a scenario for whoever wins that game wins the division type of thing. So, man, we got to come ready for that game. That week 14 bye week still sucks, but hey, man. And then just going back, I mean, week 5 against the Tennessee Titans, I highly doubt Malik Willis will be playing then. I wish he would, but I just highly doubt it. So that sucks for me. But we will be going against a lot of former Georgia Bulldogs. Travon Walker week 1 for the Jaguars. We go against the Eagles twice with Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean. We go against the Green Bay Packers. I mean, technically Justin Fields with the Bears, but he never really played for us. You have the Green Bay Packers. They're the ones that took Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt. You have the Minnesota Vikings, who took Lewis Seen, who whenever he plays the Green Bay Packers, he's about to play with his heart out. I mean, I'm not sure if y'all know how dirty the Green Bay Packers did Lewis Seen, but hey, I love the fact that he ended up on a division rival, because he's going to play his tail off every time he plays the Green Bay Packers. Hopefully he doesn't play against us with that same level of energy. But yeah, man, this is a crazy schedule. I'm really excited about this. Me personally, to be completely honest, I think 10 wins is very realistic. I don't even think that's like the ceiling. I think that's like a nice middle. I think, again, for the factors I've already given y'all way earlier in the video as to why we should win at the very least 8 games if we won 7 last year. And I feel like we honestly have the potential, if Carson Wentz balls out, if he plays like his 2017 self, again, not guaranteeing it. Who knows if he'll be able to stay healthy? Who knows if he's even that good? Again, I'm not putting even $1 on that. But if he does, we are easily a 12-win team with how we're currently constructed top to bottom, and with how easy our schedule is. I mean, Carson Wentz, if he plays like his 2017 self, most of the games that we play this season, he's the better quarterback. I wouldn't say all of the games, but again, highly unlikely. But if Carson Wentz balls out, or even say he plays as well as he did for the Colts last year outside of that Jaguars game, we're easily winning 10 games this season. I think that's very realistic. I think we could definitely get a 5th, 6th, or 7th seed even if we don't win the NFC East. So I think this is a very favorable schedule for a lot of different reasons, just the way it's set up with so many 1 p.m. games. But we do get a couple of primetime games for everybody to look at us. We got the revenge tours all over the place. Man, I'm really excited, man. Truthfully, man. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this entire schedule. Break down what games you feel like we should win, which ones we have no hope of winning. What's your record prediction? Again, mine's is 10-7, but I definitely want to hear y'all's, and I want to hear why. I want to hear which games you feel like are the trap games. Do you agree that we have to start off 2-0 or pretty much the season? I won't say it's over, but it would be really ugly if we don't start off 2-0. You can't beat the Jaguars and the Detroit Lions. Who do you expect to beat on the rest of this schedule? Because I feel like the Giants are better than both of those teams. Maybe you could argue the Falcons and the Texans are just as bad, if not worse. But outside of those 4, who are the gimme games? Again, teams are looking at us like we're the gimme games. So it's really disrespectful either way for us to look at any of these games as gimme games, because we haven't really even earned that respect and that we haven't even earned the right to be able to do that yet. Again, the Jaguars, Lions, Texans, and Falcons technically are gimme games, but not for a team that's used to getting those gimme games, especially, again, when Ron Rivera has very slow starts and seasons. You got to start 2-0. There's a year that you're ever going to start 2-0. It's literally going against the number 1 and 2 overall picks, and neither of them took quarterbacks. You got to win those, man. Then neither of them just recently drafted a franchise quarterback that should give them a complete 180. Granted, I think Trevor Lawrence will get better, but it's not like they went 3-13 last year and then they drafted Trevor Lawrence and now there's potential hype that he could turn the franchise around. We already saw last year that he was getting better, but it's not like he came in there and carried a team and took them to the playoffs. So we'll see, man. But yeah, definitely get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video, especially the schedule. Let me know if you noticed any other interesting storylines that I didn't touch on. I felt like I touched on a lot, but of course I probably missed a lot of them as well. So definitely let me know those, because I'm curious. I want to know so I can, if it's funny, if it's really interesting, I want to be able to keep track of that stuff throughout the season, because it's going to make each game that much more interesting. And of course, leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. I know you learned something, so you're legally binded to leave a like on this video on the way out. Man, I really appreciate y'all. Shouts out to all of my supporters, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially, and really shout out to all of my Pro Bowl sponsors whose name is scrolled on the screen right now. Man, I really appreciate y'all. Catch y'all later. I'm out.